Hello, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? Aaj bada kem cho? Aaj sab kaise ho? So today I'm discussing the transit of Jupiter in Ashwini Nakshatra, okay? So this transit happens between April 21st and June 21st. So it's about 2 months. Now the first, a little bit less than half of it, so I'd say about 3 to 3.5 weeks, very strong energies, okay? Because Sun is also in Aries with Jupiter. Rahu's in Aries. They're all close in degrees when Jupiter first enters. And Mercury is in Aries also retrograde, okay? And as a little bit of a added bonus, I guess you can say, to all this, Saturn is in Aquarius, throwing a third aspect on Aries, and Mars is in Gemini. Now you might wonder how that affects this. Well, it affects the Mercury retrograde, which is present in Aries, and it aspects the Jupiter in Sagittarius. This Mars' influence on this aspect does heavily influence, in my opinion, the overall energies that are present in Aries, which I will discuss in a second. Okay, now, so we got a lot going on, right? I just named like 6 different planets. Okay, so moving forward, so real quick, so the first 3 to 3.5 weeks are like this, right? So Mercury being retrograde basically adds the flavor of any decisions that you're going to make. They're not going to end well, okay? Rahu adds the flavors of it's tempting you to make certain decisions, and which are in general not going to lead to that great of a result, but because Mercury retrograde is also there, it probably is definitely not going to lead to that great of a result. Mars' influence here is basically saying any efforts you put in will lead to frustration because Mars is in Gemini, and it will also hamper the opposite energies across, which is Sagittarius. So it's basically saying, not only am I hampering your learning, your like whatever you're trying to do, your efforts, you're not really going to learn too much from it either. It's just going to lead to a bunch of not like frustration. It's not going to lead to anything fruitful, and not any learning. Okay, so that's that. Now, so in general, I would say, okay, try not to make too many external decisions, right? Especially also because Sun is in Aries. So the ego, even though Sun is exalted in Aries, it's still the identity. It's still the ego, right? So it's going to have its say here. Now, we do notice 2 somewhat good things, or somewhat spiritually positive things to help us get out of this rut that Jupiter is in, right? That is Saturn's third aspect on Aries, and Saturn is it's in its own main sign of Aquarius. Okay, so it's throwing a strong third aspect on Aries, and Sun is exalted in Aries, right? Now, what does exaltation mean? Exaltation means it's the spiritually directly best placement for a planet, okay? I go over this more in my exaltation video, which you can watch. But why does Sun get exalted in Aries, right? Well, it's because the ego loves to cling on to things, attach. The identity loves to, have form its identities, different things, and keep it that way. But Aries forces the identity, forces the ego to change, okay? Which spiritually can be interpreted as the best placement because it's kind of making it detach a little bit and things like that. So what I would focus on the first 3 to 3.5 months of this transit, 3 to 3.5 weeks of this transit, is to focus more on the internal changes, okay? Use that Saturn's energy, influencing the consciousness in Aries, and focus on what internal changes can we make from an ego perspective, okay? Because we know, I just said, external changes might not lead to that greater result. Now, how much easier is this said than done? We're going to have to see, okay? But I'm just giving you my advice on what I would try to do. Now, moving forward. So, after about mid-May, Sun leaves Aries. Mercury is there, but it's not retrograde anymore. And Mars leaves Gemini, and Venus replaces it. So, a lot of good things happen here, okay? Mercury is no longer retrograde, and Mars is not in Gemini, Venus is there influencing that aspect. So it's a more positive energy. So these two things, Editors, basically saying, hey, external actions may not lead to that bad of a result anymore, okay? Which is great. Okay, we can't just focus on the internal forever, right? Now, Saturn is also in Aries, which is key, and I'm going to say why. So right when Sun leaves Aries and all this change happens, Mercury stops going retrograde, Mars leaves Gemini, and Venus replaces it there, positively influence that aspect. Jupiter is actually a little bit before Rahu. So Jupiter's getting rubbed off on Rahu a lot. Okay, so, but Saturn here also aspects Aries. So what I would try to do is you can make some external changes, right? I'd actually encourage it because the consciousness is a little bit more clouded, like the mental is a little bit more clouded because Mercury and Jupiter have gotten a bit more closer to Rahu. But so you can make external decisions, but just make sure, because Rahu or everything is being influenced by that third aspect from Saturn, make sure whatever decisions you take ideally can fulfill some kind of karmas, okay? Okay, so it's like Saturn-like karmas, and you know what that means, okay? Now, after May ends, right? So Mercury will leave Aries, Jupiter will be past Rahu's degree, so now they're growing apart, and Venus leaves Gemini. Now this is a great time to just use consciousness on, not anything karmic, not anything spiritual if you don't want to, but you can use the consciousness to make changes that, like just more regular changes, okay? Not really focusing on, the whatever your ego needs to change or whatever you can do on the surface that, fulfills your karmas, okay? You can just focus your consciousness on changes just in general in your life, right? Which I know is what you guys all would be happy to hear, okay? So yeah, and like I said, when Jupiter goes into when it leaves Ashwini Nakshatra, then it's gonna be a completely different story because the energies are not as strong in Aries. It's not quite at those beginning initial degrees of Aries that are very explosive, and it's much farther from Rahu, okay? But that will be in a separate video. But yeah, hopefully you guys can navigate through these energies and not let your consciousness get too overwhelmed here. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. So if you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to let me know. And until next time, I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you so much for watching.